Yo, what's good people? Welcome to the video. Now today we're going to talk about calisthenics versus weight training. Now this is a pretty big topic amongst people who train, so I just want to give my own opinion on what one is the best out of the two and what one you should be doing. But to start off, let's quickly define what both training styles are. So for calisthenics is a workout which utilizes gravity and bodyweight leverage to build strength and muscle. So therefore you use your own body weight as resistance instead of the regular weights that you'd find in the gym. Weight training, on the other hand, is a type of training that uses weight as resistance, such as barbells, dumbbells, or weight machines. The muscle contracts either concentrically or eccentrically under the stress of the weight. Now with anything, there's going to be pros and cons to what we do. So let's get into pros and cons of calisthenics. Now number one, it's going to be less taxing on the body. Now compared to weight training, we tend to put a lot of weight on our joints, and our joints don't normally get bigger. They may get a little bit stronger from time to time, maybe, but that's not always the case. And sometimes when you put too much force, too much weight on our joints, it really does impact our ability to recover from our weight training sessions. But with calisthenics, we don't really put that much stress on our joints, so we're able to recover a lot quicker. Number two is there's more variation. So with calisthenics, there's an abundance of movements and exercise that we can do to work a certain body part. For example, if you want to do pull-ups, you can do regular pull-ups, you can do archer pull-ups, you can do typewriter pull-ups. You can do that all in literally one session if you want to. And that will increase the intensity and the difficulty of the workout compared to weight training, where it's a lot more repetitive of the same exercises, if you know what I mean. Pretty much just doing the same exercises over and over again. But with calisthenics, there's so much variation out there that you got a lot to choose from. Number three is it promotes body control. Now with calisthenics, you're doing a lot more, again, body weight movements. So you're moving your body up and down throughout space. So that, for me, is really important for building more functional strength compared to bodybuilding, because a lot of bodybuilders, even though they may be strong at pushing weight, a lot of them can barely move their own body weight and do a single pull-up. So I think with calisthenics, it definitely promotes a lot more functional strength and being able to control your body more throughout space. And number four is it's cheaper. You know, you don't need a lot of money to start with calisthenics. All you need really and truly is a pull-up bar and some parallettes, and you're good to go. You can have a good solid workout. And if you're one of those people who want to save money, calisthenics is the way for you, man. You know, you don't need to spend money on a gym membership or nothing like that. Buy no expensive equipment. Pull-up bar, you're good to go. You can have a good solid workout and you can't complain. Now the next one is you're going to stand out a lot more, especially if you're doing calisthenics moves in the gym, in a public gym. You're going to have a lot of people watching you, coming up to you asking questions like, how are you even doing what you're doing? Like, what type of movement are you doing? Are you a gymnast? People have asked me if I'm a gymnast. I'm like, no, I just do bodyweight training now. You know, mix it in. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot of people watching your training sessions, and some people are gonna be inspired to jump in and mix in calisthenics as well. You know, it's happened to me. I've seen a lot of people in the gym come up to me and, you know, they want to join in now. You know, they're trying to implement more calisthenics because of what they've seen me do in the gym. So for me, yeah, it's, you know, you're gonna stand out. People are gonna watch you. You're gonna inspire a lot of people as well. Now number six is you're gonna develop more relative strength and carryover strength. Now relative strength is the strength that you have in comparison to your body weight. So for example, if you're doing a pull-up, the heavier that you weigh, the less pull-ups you're gonna do, because now you're pulling up more of your body weight. And for calisthenics, you're definitely gonna, again, have more carryover strength. So for example, if you're able to do, let's say, archer push-ups, it's gonna carry over to bench pressing, because that's happened to me. Like during the lockdown, even though the gyms was closed, I managed to get stronger with my pushing strength. So when the gyms were open again, I think it was like 5-6 months later, I was able to bench even more, even though I wasn't benching at all throughout the whole 6-month period, even though it was closed. So you're definitely gonna develop a lot more strength that's gonna carry over to weight training. Now next is to focus more on compound exercises. So now compound exercises build up multiple muscle groups at one time. So now with calisthenics, you're doing a lot of dips, push-ups, pull-ups, bodyweight squats. So that allows you to maximize your time in the gym or wherever you're training and get more out of your training sessions. And it's gonna allow you to burn a lot more calories because you're doing a lot more movements, because your body is recruiting a lot more muscle groups at one time to perform an exercise. And the last pro is you can train anywhere. Just like we've seen with the pandemic, again, as I mentioned, we were forced to train more at home, in the parks, calisthenics parks. You can pretty much do calisthenics exercises anywhere. Even if you're in prison, for example, you know, a lot of guys that's in jail right now, they got to resort to doing calisthenics workouts because a lot of them, you know, they've taken away the weights in the prisons, so they're forced to do workouts in their small little tiny cells. You know, so again, calisthenics, you can do it anywhere. You could do it in your bedroom, you could do it anywhere you are. Now let's get into the cons of calisthenics. Now number one is the paradox of choice. Now this is where our ability to make a decision is impacted by the number of options that we have. Now normally you tend to think, okay, the more the better. But there is a problem with that because again, sometimes when there's too many options, you don't know what's the best options to actually choose from. So let's say compared to weight training, all you have to do pretty much is just add more weight. It's more linear. But with calisthenics, there's so many different variations out there that it can be difficult to, you know, create an actual solid program that's going to help you achieve your certain goal that you have. Now number two is the lack of isolation. Now as I said before, calisthenics is mainly about compound exercises, but you can't isolate and, you know, build up lagging body parts with calisthenics, unfortunately, compared to weight training where you can. So there's going to be a lot of undeveloped muscles that you're going to have when doing just strictly calisthenics exercises. Another con is it's going to be harder for overweight people. I just have to be honest. If you look at calisthenics athletes or gymnasts, you know, a lot of street workout athletes, you know, a lot of them are smaller, you know, they're shorter and they have a lot less body fat on them. Because again, as I said before, you've got to move your body through space. So having extra fat on you, which can't really do nothing, is going to hinder your calisthenics, you know, journey or your progression. So it's advised to, you know, try and get rid of as much weight as you can, dead weight, before you just jump into calisthenics, because it's going to be a lot difficult for you. Now number four is it can be dangerous. You know, calisthenics is still training and you can still injure yourself in training. So you don't want to do certain exercises that your body's not used to or not ready for. You know, so let's say for example, if you're just starting out with calisthenics, you don't want to jump straight in and try and do an iron cross or an archer dip, because then you're going to end up in Snap City and you're going to have a one-way ticket to the hospital, unfortunately. So again, it can be dangerous, so you have to be wise about, okay, where you are in your progression and your journey and how you can, you know, smartly train as well and avoid injuries. Now the last con is the lack of leg exercises. Now when it comes to building up your legs, you need a lot of load and weight to really build them, and calisthenics don't really offer that much leg exercises to really build them. Now you can do lunges, your bodyweight squats, your pistol squats, but that's only going to do a certain amount for your legs to really build them. You need to, you know, squat heavy weight to really, you know, to really build up your legs, you know, do a lot of leg presses and things like that. And calisthenics doesn't really offer those types of solutions to build up your legs, because if you look at a lot of, you know, from what I see anyways, a lot of, you know, calisthenics athletes, they have big upper body but a small lower body, and, you know, it's very disproportionate sometimes. Now let's get into the pros of bodybuilding. Now number one is overall body development. Now weight training is very good for building up your upper body and your lower body. You know, you can build up a lot of mass and size with it, a lot of strength, and a pretty good aesthetic physique, as we see with a lot of bodybuilders out there, you know. So again, with weight training, it's very good for just that overall body fullness, overall development, really and truly. Now number two is the environment and social aspect of training. Now bodybuilding is pretty big in the whole of London, or pretty much the whole of the world, to be honest. Like, it's a very big community and there's loads of gyms everywhere. For me in London, there's bodybuilding gyms everywhere. So in terms of like meeting people and having a support system, is very beneficial compared to calisthenics, where calisthenics is still fairly new to a lot of people. It's still pretty niche, you know. It's growing as a community, but it's not as big as weight training. So in terms of finding support systems, it's very easy for you know, a weight trainer to go and meet new people and learn of people and train with different people. For me, in my area, there's not a lot of people who train calisthenics. In my gym especially, it's only a handful of people. So I really have to go out of my way to really link up and, you know, meet people within the calisthenics community. The next pro is you're going to build a lot of absolute strength. Now, absolute strength is the maximal weight that you can press or lift. So when it comes to calisthenics, you're not really going to be benching, you know, 3 plates or 4 plates. If you want to do that, you need to do weight training. If you want to develop those big squat numbers, deadlift numbers, overhead press, you're gonna have to do weight training for that. Now, number 4 is better isolation. Now, as I said before, with calisthenics, it's very hard to isolate certain body parts, but with weight training, you can. And again, when it comes to training, all of us are gonna experience some sort of lagging body parts that we need to, work on more. And it's a lot easier to build up lagging body parts with weight training compared to calisthenics. Number 5 is easier progression. Now, with weight training, the easiest way to progress is simply just to add more weight or increase the sets and reps or your overall volume. So it's very linear in terms of progression. So it's a lot easier compared to calisthenics, where calisthenics, again, as I said before, there's so much variations that it can be difficult to make certain choices. But with weight training, just add more weight and you're good to go. And the last pro is it's easier if you're overweight. With weight training, it doesn't require a lot of, depending on what exercise you're doing, really and truly, it doesn't really require a lot of movement for your body. So if you're doing a lot of machines and things like that, where you're just sitting down, if you're overweight, it doesn't really matter. You can always, perform that exercise, like let's say a lat pull down. You can be an overweight guy and still do regular lat pull downs without any problems compared to trying to do a pull up, as I said before. So again, if you're overweight, that style of training might be more beneficial for you. Now, the first con of weight training is it's going to be a lot more expensive. Now, you definitely need the income to maintain your gym membership. The average person in the UK spends £40 a month on their gym membership, and the highest gym membership costs £205 per month. So if you're one of those people that want to save money and stuff like that, listen, just do calisthenics or something, or find a cheaper gym, a very cheap gym, which they're out there as well. But yeah, again, you're gonna need some sort of money to maintain a gym membership so you can do your weight training. Now, number 2 is it's gonna be a lot more taxing on the body. Now, when it comes to weight training, the more weight that you go, the lot more stress you're gonna put on your joints and your ligaments and your tendons, and especially again with these things, they don't really get stronger like that, or even grow. So sometimes your joints will get stronger to take more weight, but at some point it's gonna have its limits, and it's gonna be a lot more difficult to recover from your training sessions, and also your central nervous system as well. But again, that's dependent on what exercise you're doing, because if you're doing a lot more isolation, then you're gonna be fine. Like if you look at bodybuilders, they tend to do a lot more isolation compared to compounds because they don't have the risk of injuring themselves or take longer to recover for where they're gonna actually need to go on stage. So again, it will be a lot more taxing on your body. So again, you have to train smart when it comes to weight training as well. Now, number 3 is you're gonna have less body control. Now, again, compared to calisthenics athletes, they're moving within space. You're training up in the air. You're doing all sorts of movements with your body, and which requires a lot more body control. But with weight training, you're gonna. I see a lot of guys that develop a lot of stiffness within their body because they've just got so much muscle mass on them, and a lot of them can't really, again, pull up their own body weight. So again, you're gonna lose a lot more of that functional ability, so to speak. So which is, for me, I say is very important, to be functional as well. But with weight training, it doesn't really develop that aspect of the human body. Now, number 4 is it can be boring, even though this one is kind of subjective. So for me, for example, I think just before the pandemic, things were starting to get repetitive with my training sessions. It was starting to get a little bit boring. I was losing a little bit of that motivation. Training wasn't really fun for me anymore. So, and then I started doing calisthenics due to the lockdown, and training sessions were a lot more fun. I enjoyed it a lot more. But with weight training, it can be very repetitive, can get boring. But that's just my experience. So it depends on who you ask. Some people out there, they just they enjoy weight training regardless of what their sessions is like. So for me, anyways, it was a little bit boring at some point, and then again, calisthenics was so much fun for me that it's definitely a pro in that regard for calisthenics. But weight training, again, for me anyways, it was a little bit boring. So that's a con for me anyways. So there you have it. We've talked about the pros and cons of both calisthenics and weight training. So which one is the best? To be honest, I don't know. There is no real definitive answer. It all depends on what the person's goal is, what your goal is, what you're trying to achieve. So, both calisthenics and weight training has its place in overall body development. For me personally, I do more of a hybrid style of training. So I do both calisthenics and weight training. So for me, I like to work towards more of a total body strength efficiency. So being strong in absolute strength and relative strength. So being able to do, you know, a one-arm pull-up, being able to do, you know, front lever, back lever, but also being able to do, you know, bench 3 plates, you know, being able to squat 4 plates, being able to deadlift 4 or 5 plates, you know what I mean? That's, for me, that's my goal in terms of, you know, developing more of an overall strength basis for my body, you know. And I get to train with in both environments. I can train with my friends who are doing weight training and my friends who do you know, calisthenics. So, you know, for me, that's my way of training, just the hybrid. Try it out, you know, have the best of both worlds, man, and you know, you can't really go wrong with it. So comment down below which training style do you prefer and why, and you know, let's get a little discussion going. So thanks for watching the video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video, guys.